Welcome to Season 2 of Saracen's Travels. We are Andrew and Irene, a couple who took early retirement to pursue an adventure on the high seas. Last year we sailed across the Atlantic and are now sailing in the Caribbean, with a goal of reaching the British Virgin Isles. Come and join us on the journey as we head back north. Please subscribe to our channel and please remember to leave a like.
We planned to do the sail from Bequia to Saint Lucia in one long day sail. It was an early start, so we were up just before dawn. So come along with us and see how we get on.
Morning, it's 17th of December I think. We've just left Bequia at about 5:30 in the morning and we're heading to Saint Lucia. So, there's sunrise just out to pop its head up for another, what will be a hot toasty day. And we're heading up there, and that is St Vincent, you can see. We've got about 20 knots of wind. We've still got a second reef in the jenny, but we'll unroll that in a bit. See how things pan out.
Believe it or not, this is actually the moon. It's quite weird having the sun on our starboard side and the moon on our port side.
The sun's rising, but it doesn't look particularly nice over Bequia. It looks like going to rain shortly. Hence the reefs. Bequia Channel, which can get quite rough when it's wind against tide, but it looks to be quite benign today. In the distance you can see St Vincent, so once we get to the southwest corner of that, I expect the wind to die and we'll probably have to motor up the lee of the island. Apart from that, we've got 22 knots of wind, we're going along at 7 knots. And we'll get there at maybe 3-4 o'clock-ish, I think. And that's us just having bacon sarnies, and the sun's just rising. So that's us now approaching the southwest corner of St Vincent, and you can see a line of no wind, so the engine will be on in a bit. We've got 4 boats in front of us and 2 cats behind us. And just like that, the wind's away. So we'll have about a 10 or 12 mile motor up the side of St Vincent, and then hopefully get sailing again. That's us now putting the line out. Hopefully we'll have a nice wee fish for tea. No chance. About 150 metres of line out. So with a wee blue fishy lure with 2 treble hooks on it. Just over on our starboard bow, we've got a pod of dolphins. You won't be able to make them out. They're that far away. So this is us about halfway up St Vincent, and here you've got Pitons Bay. Just round the corner there you've got Wallabaloo, and this town here is called Bally Alley. There's 3 or 4 big boats in it, Pitons Bay. We've now got no wind whatsoever, and we've got a kind of northerly swell, but you can see a line of wind up at Chateaubriand. We will start sailing again in about 5 miles. As us now approaching the top of St Vincent, and you can just see ahead the line of wind coming back. So we've probably motored about 10 miles or so. In the distance you can just make out the Pitons at the bottom of Saint Lucia, so we'll have another 25 miles of sailing, and then I don't know what will happen when we get to Saint Lucia. We might be lucky, we might not be. So the engine will be going off in about 3 seconds. Just after one. So we've now got 6 knots of wind, but quite quickly that'll increase back to the 16, 20 knots we had earlier on. And 5 minutes later, we're back up to 22 knots of wind, and we've got about maybe a metre swell from the northeast. And we're going along right, 7 knots. So 3 hours and we'll be across this passage. Been fishing, and it looks like we've caught a wahoo. I've just wound it in. It's probably about maybe 3 feet long, 4 feet long. So I'm just going to wind it in, fling it in the bucket, take it downstairs and gut it. Right, that was a wahoo we've just caught, and it's probably about 9 kilograms in weight. I've got about 6.5 kilograms of meat off it. We've now got a squall coming towards us. The wind's now about 30 odd knots. Well, 30 knots apparent, 26, 27 through. We've got second reef in the main and second reef in the Jenny, and I think we're probably going to get a toast in here. But we might just be in front of it. Irene doesn't seem to think so. The cockpit's a bloodbath. We've got blood everywhere from the wahoo, but we'll get that cleaned up in a bit.
Part of our preparation before we head off sailing here involves removing the hatch covers from the deck hatches. We quite often take big waves over the deck, even in the most benign conditions in between the islands. Squalls are just now something that we anticipate, and we make Saracen ready when these will cross over her. Often we put another reef in both the main and the Jenny, and get out the lightweight waterproof jackets and ride them out. The wind normally increases in them by about 10 to 15 knots. As usual, in between the islands we get the full force of the Atlantic Ocean. There's nothing between us and Africa. The waves are now 2 metres in height, however the cameras don't quite show the reality of what this is actually like. The dinghy is sitting happily in the arch and not moving about in the slightest. We've added 2 extra straps around the dinghy and 2 ratchet straps to pull down against these, and it all works to perfection.
That's us now through the squalls with up to 34 knots of wind, top speed about 9.5 knots, and we're now sitting back in about 17 knots of wind, 18 knots of wind. We can bear off now because the wind's kind of shifted a wee bit, so we'll be more on a beam reach now, which means we should sail a wee bit faster in the less wind. Different view for a change. This is me in my fishing pool pit. We've now stopped fishing because one fish is enough, but once we finish eating that, we'll then start fishing again. The autopilot's doing all the work, sailing to wind. And within about maybe 10 miles we'll probably be in the lee of the Pitons on Saint Lucia, and then the wind will be away, cup of tea, and we'll have an egg meal Saturday. Just turn that on.
There's a squall coming in 4 knots.
Well, we've got 24 miles to go to Rodney BAy, and behind me, about 3 miles away, is a boat that started off about 4 or 5 miles in front of us, and then I'm just about on our port bow. There was another boat, and he was about 6 or 7 miles in front of us, and that's us just overtaking us. That's just showing you the performance of a Beneteau 473. And if I look at the action, it tells us we're about 90 to 95% on our polars, which is not bad. Used to be miles off them. And just coming into view is the Gross Piton and Petite Piton, but we're not stopping here. A boat boy's just come out to us and asking us, so a bit mental. Many yachts in there, isn't there? And just like that, the wind's away. We've got 3 knots from the north. Motor's on for the last 15 miles or so. This is a bit of a surprise. We're going up there, and we've got some wind up the lee of the island. We've got 20 knots of wind of apparent wind. Get the full main up. First reef in the Jenny. Going to be on quite nicely in the sun. So we should be there about 4 o'clock, which means 10 hours to do 75 miles, which is good, quite good going. Don't think you can see it.
We've arrived at Saint Lucia after a bit of a bumpy ride in between the islands. The engineer that wanted to install the parts for the water maker wanted us to come into the marina. The marina was way too busy. There was a lot of boats here from the Atlantic Rally for cruisers. So Andrew collected the bits and installed them himself using an instructional video supplied by the manufacturer. And guess what? It all works. Wahey!
Right.
Thanks for watching, guys. Please remember to leave a like and subscribe to our channel. If you like what you saw, there's 2 other videos either side of me. I'll leave a link in the description below. In our next video, we'll continue heading north. Until next time, Saracen out. See you!